Welcome everyone to this month's SciCommers community chat. And for this community chat, we will be talking about the AAAS Mass Media Fellowship, which is a 10-week summer program that places science, engineering, and mathematics students at media organizations nationwide. Fellows will use their academic training as they research, write, and report today's headlines, sharpening their abilities to communicate complex scientific issues to the public. The applications are now open and they close January 1st, 2025. We have had a number of SciCommers apply and participate in this fellowship over the years. And so this special community chat will be with previous applicants. So you can ask about application advice, learn about their fellowship experience, and just join the wider community of fellows. We will also have our AAAS Mass Media Fellow Slack channel open throughout the application window so you can solicit peer-to-peer advice. And I'll share some more stuff in Slack. But today, this panel will consist of the fellow SciCommers, Brianna Barbu, who is at Discovery in 2021, Katrina Miller, who's at Wired in 2021, and Celia Ford, who is also at Wired in 2023. We are also joined by the current AAAS Mass Media Fellowship Director, Olivia Monahan. And now I will stop talking and I will give the floor to our panelists to introduce themselves. And we will just get started.
I'm happy to start unless anyone else wants to go. So hi, everyone. My name is Katrina. I was a PhD student in physics at the University of Chicago when I applied for the Mass Media Fellowship for the 2021 class. And I had a really great experience at Wired. And that really, I think, is true for a lot of people, just really solidified my desire to pivot from research into science reporting. So from there, a lot of the connections that I made and the exposure that I had at Wired, I was able to use to freelance throughout the rest of my PhD. And then I did a year-long fellowship at the New York Times after I defended, and I got hired on last June as a permanent staff reporter. So that's where I'm at now.
I'm happy to go next because I was also at Wired, but my timeline was a little bit different. So the nature of my PhD research made it really challenging to leave for a summer while I was in grad school. So I waited to do the fellowship until I had just graduated my PhD. So I was at Wired for a summer. I had an amazing experience there. And similar to Katrina, I think that the exposure that I got there was really helpful. I freelanced afterwards full-time for about 8 months. And then I started a new fellowship at Vox. So that's what I'm currently doing now. I'm a Future Perfect Fellow at Vox Media. I love it, and my fellowship lasts until March. So next steps, TBD.
Awesome. I guess I'll go last. I'm Bree. I was the 2021 fellow at Discover Magazine, not Discovery Channel. Common misconception. I'm a chemist by training. I have a master's degree in organic materials chemistry. I was in a PhD program until 2020 and got really burned out and quit. And was freelancing / unemployed for a while. And the fellowship was kind of my lifeline to actually finding a real job in this career field that I had left something that was stable but also miserable for me, to actually finding a job doing full-time science communication. I now work as a reporter at Chemical and Engineering News, covering news in the field of chemistry. And honestly, it's kind of like college age Bree's dream job. So it all came full circle in the end. And the Mass Media Fellowship was a big part of that. And some of the coolest people that I know are also mass media fellows. So highly recommend.
So what happens here? I don't know if Olivia, it seemed like you were maybe about to give a presentation, or I don't know if you also want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Tyler, do you want me to go next?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I have a few slides as the director of the Mass Media Fellowship Program to kick us off. I thought that it might be a nice way of kind of answering some questions, but also taking you through, basic application steps and things like that, so that you can bring us questions while we're all here together. So give me a second while I bring up my slides. And I'll say that, here at AAAS, I started this role formally in January following Kristen Lewis's departure from AAAS. But I've been with AAAS since 2016, working on one of our other flagship fellowship programs, the Science and Technology Policy Fellowship. And so I can answer questions about that program too, if you reach out to me at any point. And you should now see the slides up on your end, hopefully. All right, great. I see Tyler nodding. So I'll just say a brief little bit about my background as well. So as the project director of the program, there's 2 of us that run this program, and we bring in about 20 fellows each summer. My background, my graduate work is in communication and technology, but I have not served as a science writer or a reporter, although I love working with this group of fellows. It's always a fantastic group, full of energy, and just makes for a really enjoyable summer working with all of you and the future yous who will come through our program. The reason that AAAS has this program is one of our core kind of strategic goals is to build trust between scientists and communities. And so this is one of the venues that we do that through by training scientists to engage with the public through journalism. And so we see that as benefiting our mission, but also scientists we train, and then that pathway carries through to, of course, benefiting the public by translating science through the news. Here is my bulkiest slide with kind of the high-level points of how you can be one of these fellows. So on the right-hand side are, our basic eligibility requirements. On the left is our little kind of short form description of the program, and a lovely image of our 2024 class that spent the summer with us and all over the nation writing the news. You can work in newsrooms such as Scientific American, The Washington Post, NPR, Wired, Discover. Everyone from an advanced undergraduate to 1 year out of a postdoc is eligible to apply. So we consider it early career, but it really spans many academic levels. And so really you're considering applying when it makes the most sense to you. And our application is open now. So toward the end of my short set of slides, I'll have a QR code you can scan to take you to our website, which has our application information and a link to get started. The fellowship always runs early June to mid to late August. And in 2024, the stipend was $8,000 for the 10 weeks that you are participating as a fellow. And that is paid in 4 installments, usually directly to your bank account. We also cover all travel, getting you to DC and to your host site, unless you're working remotely. And then we have the majority of our placements in English, but we also have a specialty track for a Spanish language science writer. So for that applicant, they submit their writing samples in Spanish. And for the past few years, that fellow has served their fellowship in Puerto Rico at a newsroom called El Nuevo Dia. Some of you might be familiar with this graphic because you're in this group, but what we're training scientists to do that they might not have received in their academic training is the right-hand side of this graphic. So starting with the bottom line up front, then providing the so what, and finally supporting details. And that is a classic model of communicating to the public, because if you don't start with the bottom line, you typically lose your audience. We all have many things going on and lots of things grabbing our attention. So this is a basic version of how we explain the difference in communicating to the public versus writing a research paper, which you can see over there on the left. Here's just a few sample clips. These are actually from the 2023 class, so from some of Celia's peers at the time. And I include them here to show you the breadth of the type of newsrooms that we work with, but also, you know, the type of news that folks can work on. So it really runs the gamut in terms of science coverage. Typically, a fellow is placed with a science editor or on a science desk, and they are writing about science news in some capacity. That doesn't mean that that's the only thing they can do. You know, we've had fellows that have written cultural pieces or collaborated with other teams, but the primary focus is to get them working with a science team within their newsroom and working hand in hand with a mentor who shepherds you through those 10 weeks. Here's that current class that I mentioned prior. One of the exciting things that we do following the summer fellowship is we provide a follow-on mentorship program that's actually about to kick off for these folks. It runs November to April of each cycle. We pair fellows who are interested in participating with a new mentor, and we collaborate with the Open Notebook, which is a nonprofit organization that helps journalists who cover science improve their skills. So we don't just like give you the fellowship and then send you off. If you want more mentorship and training, that is an option afforded to you. And working one-on-one with mentors, you know, we've seen fellows are able to really work on their resumes, to think about their next job opportunities, think about their goals. If they really want to become a freelancer, you know, we can pair them with a freelancer mentor who's really navigated their career and all of the complexities that come with that kind of life, and then all of the excitement that it can bring and flexibilities. Whereas somebody else, you know, might be fully set on becoming a photojournalist, and so we can seek out mentors that that person would benefit from working with. I have to shout out the sponsors. AAAS doesn't pay for the fellowships. The hosts don't pay for the fellowships. We actually work with a group of philanthropic organizations, university partners, and scientific societies. And when you complete your application, you actually can signal to us that you're a member of, let's say, one of these science societies listed here, and that makes sure that we can run your application past that sponsor. If you kind of meet the eligibility and the initial scoring round, then that sponsor can review your application. So if you are a member of one of these scientific societies or a member of a science society that we should work with or partner with, you can always reach out, and I'll have the email contact at the end of my set of slides. I think this is probably a good set of information for this group. The application looks like many applications, right? You're going to have your applicant information, your education, a series of applicant questions that are short form answers that allow us to get to know you better and our reviewers to get to know you better. But I think what differentiates us is the writing sample that we ask for. You have to choose a journal article that was published in July or later of the application year, and write us a sample news story and submit that as part of your application. You also have the opportunity to submit supporting materials. These can be recommendation letters, but they can also be podcast episodes, other writing samples that kind of show us your communication abilities, etc. So really that supporting materials section is yours to make it, to give us more information about you, your background, and why you might make a good fellow. And then of course, demographics at the end of the application. Here's the QR code I promised, and also my last slide so that we can hear from our lovely panelists. But an exciting thing that I got to add to this slide recently is this 50th logo. So in the, yeah, I see clapping. In the 2025 cohort year, we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary, which means that we've been doing this for quite a long time. So even though I haven't been managing the fellowship in all of those years, there have been many folks before us that really have crafted a really excellent, robust program for folks, carving out a lot of our kind of network of individuals that we work with, but also that means that we have almost 900 alumni of the program. And by becoming a fellow, you, of course, become part of that network. We have a Slack, like many other platforms, a legacy email listserv even, and just a set of folks doing really cool stuff all over the world. So you join that network. If you have questions that you want to reach out to me about, you can reach me at mmfellowship@AAAS.org. I would encourage you to start an application to see what it looks like, even if this isn't the year that you are planning on applying, because it's open now, closing January 1. And we're, of course, on Twitter/X at AAAS Mass Media. And the QR code takes you to our website, which has that apply now button. All right, thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Olivia. We will just get started with some questions. We have a couple of questions in the chat. The first one is about eligibility. You said that recent postdocs are eligible up to 1 year after the postdoc ends. Is that within 1 year of the application deadline or the fellowship start date?
It's actually neither. So we are even more generous than the deadline or the start date. So we do 1 year of June of the application year to which you're applying. So let's say you were applying this year. You could have served as a postdoc up until June of 2023 and still be eligible for this cycle. And the reason we do that is because most academic calendars and some postdoc appointments end in May or June per an academic year cycle. And so, you know, even though our cycle is a little bit off of an academic one, that's how we kind of came up with that date. So if you have any questions about that, just reach out to us and we can confirm your eligibility before you go through and complete that application.
Another question about eligibility would be, does that also apply to a graduate student coming out of their PhD, but maybe not transitioning into a postdoc?
Yeah, so that 1 year kind of grace period applies to any of our eligible categories. So you could be graduating from undergrad, from your PhD program, or concluding your postdoc, and you have that year of grace period that applies to all of those different eligibility types, and a master's.
Nice. Another question from chat. Is it expected to have a writing record when we apply? Or I think one of our audience members has more of a science education background, and they're now just starting to get into writing more specifically.
What's unique about our program, and I would love the panelists to talk about the experience that they had when they applied, because I think it will be telling. What's unique about our program is that we're looking for scientists that haven't had classic journalism training. And so our program offers a bridge to bring more scientists into these science writing careers. And so you can demonstrate your interest and your ability to write and communicate in your application in a number of ways, but it doesn't mean that you have to have had formal experience, jobs, academic training to be able to apply and be a successful applicant. And Tyler, if it's okay, I would love the panelists to talk about how they approached that in their application.
Yeah, I can say a few words. So I had been aware of the Mass Media Fellowship for years, but as a as a student, I had been in student mode for so long that I just simply could not get anything accomplished without deadlines. So every time like the writing, samples were required for the application, I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and write this. And I never wrote it. So what I actually did was just, I signed up for like this part-time internship program through it was like unpaid internship program, very chill, through the University of Chicago news page. And I was just like, I think over the course of 10 weeks, I just wrote 3 articles about news coming out of the university. And I used those for my writing samples. But to my understanding, like you could just submit a writing sample that's not published. Like I don't think it has to, I think it can be original to the application, or it could be like something that was published somewhere else, and you just, modify it to fit within like the word count or something, which is what I ended up. But I had very little like public writing record. And this is sort of answering a question that was asked above. Like I didn't really have a public byline, a record of bylines before I applied. It really was just those 3 that I had just done like months before, like a couple of months before the application was due.
I'm happy to talk to you because I think I had a bit of a different experience. I think because about halfway through my PhD program, so at this point I'm like 3 years deep into grad school, I was having a full existential crisis. Was like, basically quiet quit grad school and was looking for other things to do to like fill the void. And I hadn't heard of the AAAS Mass Media Fellowship yet at that point, but I started working with a like student and postdoc run podcast at UCSF. So I had some experience like writing and producing and hosting podcast episodes in a kind of like not professional capacity. So I submitted one of those samples as one of my like application materials. I just went back and checked. And then I also had some experience writing for UC Berkeley's like grad student run whatever like magazines. So again, it wasn't like professional, like I didn't have any samples at like the Washington Post or something. It was a student run publication. But I also submitted one of those articles as one of my writing samples. And then I had the unusual experience because I waited so long to apply for this fellowship. I actually did the Open Notebooks Early Career Science Writing Fellowship the year before I got into this one. So through that fellowship, I then did end up having some like kind of formally published science related things out there, but it wasn't science writing. It was like writing about the process of science writing, which is very meta and strange. I think most people, if they do both fellowships, do it the other way around. Like they would do the AAAS first and then the Open Notebook second. But yeah, that's the long way of saying that I did have some like published writing samples, but most of them were like through student run, like informal, not professional outlets.
I'll add that my experience was more similar to Celia's. I was looking for something to fill the void in my life and started talking to people who are doing science communication and found out about the mass media fellowship. But I had just missed the application window for that year. So I got involved with an organization on campus that like wrote news for the department website and, sort of exploiting grad student labor for free experience in science communication kind of deal. started writing and my experience diverges here because like this is the point where like the pandemic hit and I like burned out on my PhD program. But I started writing like summaries of articles for journals and did this mentorship program through the National Association for Science Writers that was super helpful. I think the piece I produced for that was what I ended up submitting as my writing sample. Oh no, wait, it couldn't have been because it wasn't the window. But I didn't have a lot of experience with like pitching editors at anywhere really. I had only ever pitched formally one article and got it accepted somewhere before I got the fellowship, which was actually at Discover Magazine. My mentor from the NASW program encouraged me to pitch something about COVID. And so I pitched a piece about COVID rapid testing and how that works. And it was really good. And the Discover people, like the experience is really good. I don't know if the piece is any good. The Discover people like explicitly said that the reason that they picked me was because they liked the COVID piece that I had pitched them the year before. But I wouldn't say that like I like had like a steady stream of writing clips. It was all very piecemeal. There were certainly people in my cohort who had like much more experience than me, but there were people who had less experience. I feel like I sort of like ended up sort of in the middle of that. But yeah, I feel like you should be able to just do blogging or free work and still be able to demonstrate your writing ability. This application, they're not really looking for, superstars. They're looking for people that they can, mold into the future of science communication. It's really a career launcher.
Thank you. Again, for people, if you want to ask a question out loud yourself, you can. I'm not like in charge. I don't want to steal all your questions from you if you just like have a burning one. You don't have to go through me, but I will say some of these right now. Is there a sort of specific list of disciplinary backgrounds that are eligible? One of our audience members was curious about folks with sort of social science backgrounds as opposed to natural in the basic sciences.
Yeah, I just responded in the chat to that one, just really encouraging social scientists to apply. AAAS is a general science association and social scientists are scientists. So you're very eligible.
And this is a question I had specifically. I mean, I'm not eligible, but I still want to know. Can fellows apply with a newsroom in mind that doesn't currently participate in the fellowship?
You can, but the way that our process works is that we are kind of recruiting hosts now. And they're a part of the selection process. So fellows don't get to kind of go off and decide that they want to be hosted by somebody that hasn't been a part of the process. So I would say if you have a host in mind that's not currently in our slate of offerings or in our past history, shoot us an email and we can always talk with a host about coming into the fold. So we're always looking for new partners. Typically the way that I ensure that a host is going to be a good place for a fellow is, of course, starting with a conversation with them. And my screen just went blank.
Did we lose her?
I think we lost Olivia.
Everyone's dropping like flies.
No.
In the meantime, it looked like there were some questions that maybe we could answer as former fellows.
I think someone asked about advice for general writing samples. I don't remember who that was, but maybe we can talk about that. I feel like I chose a piece that was, I wrote about MRI contrast agents. Because I wanted to sort of challenge myself to write like adjacent to my area of specialization, like a little bit of chemistry, but like to show that I could like be versatile for a more general newsroom, because you know the fellowship places people at more general newsrooms, and I had it edited by former fellows who were from fields other than chemistry to make sure that they could understand it, which is very important because I get stuck in chemistry rabbit holes a lot. But I honestly like would advise you to just kind of write about like what interests you, because like that's where your passion is going to shine through. I don't know if the other former fellows have.
Yeah, I would say big +1 to writing about things that you think are cool, even if maybe especially if they're outside of your field of study. So I forgot to mention this when we were doing intros, but my background is in neuroscience. I did cognitive neuroscience for undergrad and then a neuroscience PhD. But I have my like application open right now because I forgot what I submitted. But my general writing sample was about fungal disease in frogs. So completely unrelated to neuroscience. It was just something that came up in conversation with a friend of a friend at somebody's house party. And I was like, wow, there's a huge like disease that's wiping out all of the frogs on planet Earth. That is nuts. And I have never heard of that before. And so I ended up writing an article about that for the student-run publication that I mentioned earlier. So I had luckily like I'd kind of already written something and then I reworked it for my application. But yeah, I think I was mostly just motivated to write it because I thought it was neat. And so I think it helps if you think it's fun because then your voice is going to shine through in the piece more than if you're just like really bogged down in technical details of your field.
I guess I will just add also, am I correct in remembering that the general writing sample doesn't have to be a science story necessarily? It doesn't have to be focused on any science. I think that's right. I think that was correct, at least when I was applying. So I just want to add that I think it's also okay to just submit something that you would submit for the science writing sample, like another science story, that would have doubled as like, your more specific sample. I think I was just too like overwhelmed and kind of burnt out as a student researcher to even think about like putting together something new. And so I just ended up submitting something that I already had again within the word count, and it ended up totally fine.
Bree, you mentioned that you had your piece edited by former fellows. Were those fellows you already knew, or did you just reach out to them?
These were people that I already knew from now I'm trying to remember like where I met them. I think it was from social media because Twitter was actually useful back then. And I followed a bunch of former fellows on Twitter to kind of try to like glean their wisdom on how to become a science writer. And there were a couple folks, and actually no, I think one of them was from Twitter, the other one was from the Slack group that evolved into this group. So +1 to the SciCommers community. And I specifically reached out to folks who like I had contact with before, talking about their career paths and advice about applications. So I feel like the biggest thing for me in terms of a takeaway is that like the network of science communicators and the network of fellows is so strong. And we're all so happy to share our experience and our advice with you all, and do not be shy about asking.
Can I chime in with a question? So I guess this is for Olivia, but I'd also like to hear from the fellows what you think. So I'm really interested, I am like an advanced postdoc, and I'm really interested in writing about science and policy. Like I've worked in Europe before, and I have all these ideas about like thoughts and ideas about like, yeah, like science and policy, science-based policy making, but how like we can make science more sustainable, et cetera. And I'm also interested in the AAAS Science and Policy Fellowship. And I was wondering, Olivia, like is the Mass Media Fellowship, are you interested in people who maybe that would be their beat, is kind of science policy, which maybe is a little more, it's like a little bit different than just talking about science news? And would you recommend just kind of applying for both? I guess it's my impression is that the Science and Policy Fellowship is a little more, maybe a little more competitive. It seems like maybe you need a little more experience for that one, but maybe that's just a misunderstanding.
They do try to demystify that in some ways. So in the same vein of MMF, STPF is looking for folks that are committed to the mission of the fellowship. And that means that you can make a case very strongly for why you should be selected to be either an STPF fellow or an MMF fellow. And I think given your interests, both could be a part of your career. So it just depends on kind of where you're at and what kind of commitment you're looking for. Mass media is only in the summer, so a little bit easier to kind of fit into your academic journey. The Science and Technology Policy Fellowship is a year long with a potential second year renewal, so potentially a 24-month term. And you can certainly be interested in SciComm and do an STPF fellowship without doing an MMF fellowship, but we have seen that pipeline of folks who've done both. And there are alums that have done both, Katie. So if you wanted me to get you in contact with somebody who's had experience with both programs, we have a list of folks that I'd be happy to connect you with if you reach out to our MM Fellowship inbox. And I'll just say, more specifically, if you're interested in doing science policy journalism, MMF is where you would go for that kind of work, to try that out. And we had a fellow this past summer who had those same interests. And so we were able to place her somewhere where she was doing a lot of policy reporting in the environmental space. So she was able to kind of carve out a placement with a host where she could do that kind of reporting.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Oh, Jacqueline.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. And so sorry, I've been keeping my camera off because I have some things that take me away, so I didn't want to be distracting. But I was wondering if you guys would be able to talk to us a little bit more about your writing experience. I asked because I think I'm similar to, I think it was Ananya mentioned that she has a background in science education. And my background is mostly, I'm an evolutionary biologist, but I have done a lot of work in public outreach. And so I sort of have these conflicting interests where I'm really invested in sort of like the power of local action and sort of the very targeted public outreach, but also, very interested in science writing to mass audiences. And I noticed that a lot of people are partnered with these very large organizations, but some are local. And so I was wondering if you could sort of speak to sort of finding those partnerships. And then also when you're writing, are you sort of like assigned a general topic or an area, or do you talk with your advisor or mentor about sort of the scope of what you're writing? I know I asked like 6 questions and much, but if you have sort of any insight, I would really appreciate it. So thanks.
I can try to answer from my own experience and try to like pull things from what I remember of the other fellows, because I think it really depends on which outlet you're paired with. So I know that at Wired, for example, Wired is a pretty like national outlet. And so the focus was pretty broad, which for me, that was what I wanted. I was really interested in doing kind of like ideas journalism, which is what I do now, writing like pretty broad, featurey, like in-depth things that are at a broader scale. But I know that there were other fellows in my cohort who were working at local outlets in Dallas and in Idaho. And I think that in those outlets, they were focused on more local things. They were doing more in-person reporting, going to classrooms or going to like town hall events. So I think it just really depends. And you get to, I think that during the application process at some point, once you're considered as like a semifinalist or a finalist, you get to submit a list of the outlets that you would prefer. So I think that you have some input in that. Olivia can correct me if I'm misremembering that. And then I also think regarding like, are you deciding what you write or like, are you pitching the topics that you want? I think that that also ends up depending on the outlet that you're at, and your preference. I know that I wanted to pitch things, and I was working with an editor who let me do that. So I ended up probably pitching, I'd say a solid like 2/3 or 3/4 of the stories that I wrote, and then a couple of them were assigned to me because they were like quick turnaround newsy things. But then I know other people were assigned the vast majority of the stories that they wrote. And I don't remember whether that was by choice or just because that was how the outlet that they worked at operated. But I think yeah, the short answer is it depends, I think.
Yeah, I think that's largely right. It really depends on editor and outlet and what their focus is and who the audience is, right? Like local reporting gets you get to cover a lot of ground locally. And so if you're interested in public outreach, like that's a very like hands-on way to like really get, like in the weeds of the community and report on issues that they care about and also talk to them on about issues that they care about. Wired is, and I don't know if Wired is still a host site. I don't think it's a host site anymore because they had some like structural changes. Yeah, Celia is nodding or shaking her head. So yeah. But Wired is like a national tech magazine, right? And so that, that means that the audience who is coming to read their magazine is different from the Idaho Statesman, right? Or the Milwaukee Sentinel. And so it really, I think everyone sort of has a different preference. And doing the actual fellowship is what helps me develop a preference, right? It is what helped me realize like, oh, I prefer this type of outlet over this one because, magazines, let me do longer features, or I get to, take my time, or, newspapers are more quick turnaround and I have more assignments and things like that. So.
Yeah, the way that I look at kind of our spread of hosts is that we have everything from those national newsrooms to hyper local/local newsrooms. So this year we brought in a new partner, Cascadia Daily News in Bellingham, Washington, and our fellow is like reporting on science outside his doorstep. And we also have a third category, which I call kind of specialty newsrooms. And so these, you might not be working to communicate broadly with the public, but a public that is more narrowed. So health focused individuals, let's say working at STAT, you would be tailoring your writing to a very much more specific audience. And you can explore all of these in your fellowship, so through your placement. And because it's a cohort-based model, you're also learning from other fellows who are placed elsewhere, and benefiting from kind of that shared knowledge. So you might realize through your placement that you don't want to work in a specialty science-related shop, and that you are much more interested in general news for the public at a national level. And you can easily make that pivot once you have that experience.
And a question from the chat. I'm assuming it's for Olivia. Given that there's a wide-ranging experience that selected fellows have, can you speak more to what makes an applicant competitive?
Yeah, yeah. So excellent science is always one of the highest bars for the program. I think continuing in your academic journey, wherever it is, and making it clear kind of what scientific background you bring through that work. One of the things, of course, this program is doing is bringing science into newsrooms that don't often have scientists. And so it's important to kind of stress those components of your background. Strong writing skills and communication skills are a must. And so really working through your application materials, having external readers on anything you're submitting. I know that our panelists mentioned that, but I think that that's a good thing to do no matter what. And then some of those things that can set apart an application, I think the panelists have also highlighted a little bit, and that is your unique voice and what you bring. And so when you're thinking about the writing sample that you're going to submit, you know, something memorable is always really helpful, I've seen. And so that could be an interesting way that you're describing a really complex science. So, you know, thinking really critically about what impression you're leaving the folks who are reading your application. And with hundreds of these, you know, how do you set yourself apart? And that is usually through that unique angle that you bring in your writing. Unique backgrounds, of course, are helpful too. And so bringing a little bit of yourself in your application is always welcome. And you have ample opportunity to do that because our application is collecting not only short form answers from you, but also writing samples and those supporting materials. And when you check out our application tips page, there's kind of more along these lines. So I would start there. And then if you have follow-up questions, we're always here to help. And the Alumni Network, I think, is also always happy to help applicants as they consider what they might submit between, you know, 3 awesome options. So.
Oh, sorry, there's so many questions. Another question about eligibility. Are there international fellows, or is the fellowship classified as CPT or OPT because of non-US citizens eligible?
Yes, so folks that can get paid in the US are eligible, no matter what their citizenship type is. And so this could mean you're sponsored by a university on a visa that allows you to get paid. And really that is the main stipulation for us. And through the application, you can share that basic information with us. If you're a non-US citizen, confirming that you have a visa type that does allow you to get paid.
I think that's me.
Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I was curious, for like, in addition to science writing, there are so many other ways that science is communicated in media. I'm curious if fellows ever engage with like video or audio formats or like the other kinds of media in addition to science writing.
I can talk. So I guess like right now so at Vox, they're trying to kind of expand the amount of like TikTok kind of stuff that they do. So I have had to record a couple of like TikTok videos explaining articles that I've written, which has actually been super fun. And I think that so the fellowship that I'm doing there right now, there's 2 other fellows, and I know one of the fellows there has been very involved in doing videography and social media stuff. So I think that those kinds of opportunities are available if that's what you want. And also something that has been happening more, the more things that I write, is that I've been invited to speak on some podcasts, which has been really fun. So I've definitely done that. Before I got into science communication in general, I was a radio DJ. So I've always really loved doing audio chit-chatty stuff. And so I've been trying to incorporate that into my science writing career whenever it's possible.
I think also, and I don't know if there are still outlets that AAAS partners with, but during me and Bree's fellowship summer, we had a couple of people, or at least one person was doing like TikTok exclusively, right? Like there was somebody working at an outlet, and I think there was another one who was doing audio, like Science Friday or something. I don't know. It's kind of hazy, but there, I think that there have been, and maybe still are, Olivia can confirm, other multimedia opportunities like through the fellowship as well as beyond.
Yeah, definitely. So like we have 2 public radio partners in this from this past cycle. We've worked with Science Friday in the past. All of those, of course, you're still starting with writing. So, you know, there's still email copy. There's still copy that gets written that gets translated and to spoken word. You just write it differently. And so if that's something you're specifically interested in the chat, I mentioned the semi-finalist survey. But if you make it to that round, you kind of specify the news types you're interested in, and you have access to the hosts that we're partnering with and the news types that they are engaging a fellow in. And so that's everywhere, everything from print, including newspaper or magazine, digital, radio, television, very little of that these days, social media, and beyond. So we had, for example, somebody who did, I mentioned photojournalism already, but it's on my mind. We had a photojournalist this year who did a photojournalism series with his host. And so really, depending on the kind of forum you're interested in learning about communicating in, there is likely the opportunity. And then to Celia's point, most hosts get really excited when fellows want to do more in these multimedia spaces. So there's usually ample room to kind of grow beyond what the initial kind of fellow description might look like.
Thank you.
I think we also, I'm not sure if we missed this question about a time during your PhD that worked best. Was that answered or? Okay, I mean, I can start. For me, there was no right time. So honestly, other than like me just procrastinating because I didn't have like an external deadline set on anyone but myself, the reason why I kept pushing off applying to this is because I just could not figure out like at what point, you know, is my advisor going to be okay with me taking a summer off? You know, at what point do I have that conversation with him? And so, you know, I kind of during the pandemic, I just was like, well, I'm just gonna do it, you know, like there's no right time, and you know, there's a lull in productivity standards right now. So I'm just gonna apply and like ask for forgiveness later, ask if I can do it later, if I get it. And so that's pretty much what I did. I think I would honestly give yourself as many opportunities to apply as possible. Like you could, you know, you could apply 4th year, and if it doesn't, you know, if you get an offer and it doesn't work out for whatever reason, like at least you have, you know, some application materials from which to start from in the following year. But I don't think it can hurt to apply more than once.
Yeah, I think that I had a similar experience where my advisor was pretty unsupportive of me doing anything outside of lab stuff. So I was too afraid to apply until I had finished grad school because I was just like, I'm too scared to even have this conversation with her. I want to apply at a time when I don't need my advisor's approval to do this. And I do kind of wish that I had applied earlier, even if it meant like Katrina said, like if I had to say no, it would have at least given me the experience of having applied. I think I got lucky that it worked out the first time. But yeah, I don't think that there was a right time for me. I just waited until I was done with grad school. And then at that point, I was self-conscious because there were so many people in my cohort who were younger than me who had applied like straight out of undergrad or who had applied their 1st or 2nd year of grad school. And I was like, oh my God, am I just like so old. Like, how am I possibly going to break into this career path at the ripe age of like 27, which sounds ridiculous. I'm like, that's not even old. Like, what was I so worried about? So I don't know. I think if you're somebody who's maybe like currently a postdoc or you're at the end of grad school and you're like, oh my God, is it too late? I think the answer is very solidly no. But also I think I could have applied earlier and it also would have been fine. Which is, I guess, not that helpful. It's like, I don't know, apply whenever, it's probably going to be okay.
Thank you. So I think we have time for one more question, and so it will just be this one from the chat. Where do people land jobs after this? So like what types of organizations, companies, or news agencies?
Maybe our panelists could shout out like a cool
Yeah,
alum that they knew is working somewhere. I have plenty of examples. I don't want to keep talking.
I mean, I'm at the New York Times now, so I'm at a general newspaper. People have gone on, like people from my cohort, went everywhere. You know, like some people went into local journalism and not even focused on science anymore, you know, just like general local journalism. I'm also at a general national newspaper, but I'm, you know, on their science desk. Some people I remember said like this was a great experience and I missed science so much and I'm going to go back in the lab and, you know, become a professor. And I think that like what I really appreciated about the AAAS is that they don't really push you to like, it's very exploratory. Like they like basically the angle is that even if, you know, you decide to stay in science, many people don't, but even if you do decide to stay in science, you know, that experience of working in a newsroom gives you such a better understanding of the relationship between science and the media. And actually, I'm giving a talk about this to scientists on why, like, you know, media training and like exposure to media is so important, even if you're staying in science, which ultimately really helped me through the rest of my PhD too.
Yeah, I will say that my workplace, which is a more specialized publication, mostly aimed at scientists, is full of former fellows. I work with like two of my like the other like younger people at my job are also fellows. We had a couple other fellows who like were like interns here. One who like worked for CNN for a year and decided that she wanted to go freelance. So, and then one who did like the fellowship like 20 years ago. So, yeah, CNN is the place. LOL. But yeah, like Trina said, fellows go everywhere.
Yeah, I'm happy to give some other examples if, oh, do you have something else to add, Katrina?
I was just going to quickly say that I think the other thing is that like we all kind of orbit the same circles, right? So like, you know, everyone is kind of involved in the Open Notebook, is also involved in like the Boston SciCommers, is also involved in the Mass Media Fellowship. And so you just see like, you know, alumni coming from all of these different programs. Yes, it's a very small world.
Yeah, it's a very small world. I noticed this going to the NASW, the National Association of Science Writers conference. It's the same like couple hundred people, and you're by the second year that you go to that, you're like, I have seen all of you before. But yeah, some other I can give some examples from my cohort that I am aware of, and then talk a little bit about my own experience because it's there's a huge range. I actually just met up with one of my cohort mates for coffee yesterday, because they're doing like a local journalism fellowship now for Bay Nature, I think it's called, but it's like a Bay Area like nature focused local outlet. One of my friends is working for I actually also think that chemistry outlet. So just along with Bree, maybe, I don't know. And then there's some people that went on to become medical writers. And then there's some who went back to academia. So really a huge range there. And some went on to do science writing master's programs as well. And then my experience, I think, working at Wired kind of made me realize that I really liked the general audience focus, but I didn't really love the quick turnaround, like single study news reporting. And so when I was applying for the fellowship that I'm doing right now, I was really looking for an opportunity to kind of branch away from doing like strictly science reporting and doing more like science and society, like science and culture. And I think that now my reporting is a lot more like meta science focused, and I do some culture reporting as well. And I really love it. So I think that the fellowship kind of taught me what I do and don't want. And then I was able to use that to like apply for another job later. And I think that probably a bunch of people have that same experience.
Oh, sorry, I don't know if we're out of time, but I do want to add that my path after the fellowship was full of bad choices. And I really feel like I might have ended up, not that where I ended up is bad, but I like basically took a copy editing position immediately after the fellowship because I needed a job. And if I feel like if I had stayed freelancing for a while or like gone to journalism school, like my career would have advanced faster, and I might have, like, I should have trusted myself more in terms of following what I wanted to do instead of like what I like felt like I needed to do. Because I but you know, I understand the job market's kind of chaotic, so I don't regret it, but I also forget where I was going with this. Yeah. That's it, I guess. Sorry.
Well, we are out of time. I would like to thank our panelists for joining us today, and then thank you to everyone in the audience for joining live. Like I said at the beginning of our mentor chat, we will have our AAAS Mass Media Fellowship Slack channel open for you to solicit peer-to-peer advice. And a lot of past fellows are still in our SciCommers community, so please don't be afraid to reach out because a lot of fellows get their fellowships from asking of help from previous fellows. Hopefully to help everyone, we are doing another book giveaway from our September mentor chat, Anthony Dudo's book called Strategic Science Communication. So we'll be giving out 5 copies to 5 randomly chosen people from Zoom who were either at our Tuesday mentor chat or today's community chat. If you are selected by the random generator of Google Sheets, you will know by next week. And our upcoming mentor chats will be in November with Dan Pomeroy from the Scientific Citizen Initiative, which is a lab for innovative learning experiences to promote meaningful interactions between science and society. Dan was also a AAAS Science and Technology Policy Fellow. So maybe if anyone has any questions about that fellowship, you can like throw some of those in to his mentor chat as well. And in December, we will have a mentor chat about narrative storytelling and persuasion in op-eds with Jean Corbin. Again, I would like to thank everyone for joining us. I will have all of the links and information and resources that were shared today posted in our Slack channel for you all to enjoy and peruse and hopefully reach out to people. And that is the end of our mentor chat. Thank you.
Thanks so much for organizing, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to talk to y'all.
Yeah.
Bye.